Yeah, it's a beautiful day to be alive and well. Welcome to our show. And as always, we are glad you could join us. This is Political Spectrum coming to you live from Uyo, the state's capital, and I remain your host, Onwese Ehinoma Olusegun. Now, first on President Tinubu's administration's calendar, today is November the 14th. It's a Tuesday, 2023, and it marks exactly 171 days of President Bola Tinubu in office as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is now exactly 5 months and 20 days as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Well, it's been some very interesting twists and turns after the recently conducted off-cycle elections in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa over the weekend. There's been reactions from almost all facets of the Nigerian society. What are the major issues being highlighted? Are we moving forward or are we moving backwards? What are the lessons taken from the just concluded off-cycle elections? Also, there are fresh developments between the NLC and the federal government. All these and more we will be throwing open for your conversations with you. Let's begin with FG's threats to Labour Party over the issue of contempt. FG is to charge Labour Party over contempt, and NLC still remains very adamant. Now, the federal government on Monday asked the organized labour to shelve its planned strike, slated to commence today. The government reminded the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress of a restraining order issued by the Industrial Court Abuja on Friday. The TUC President Festus Osifo had announced at a press conference in Abuja on Monday that the labor action would commence on Tuesday, which is today, 12 midnight today, in protest against the alleged assault on the president of the NLC, Joe Ajero. And it was suspected that there were thugs in Owerri, in Imo State, in November 1st. Now, President of the NLC, Justice Benedict Kanyip, had restrained the labor centers and their affiliates from embarking on any form of strike. The judge issued the order following an ex parte application brought before the court by the federal government through the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Chief Lateef Fagbemi, SAN. Now, the Special Assistant to the Attorney General of the Federation on Communications and Publicity, Kamorudeen Ogundele, in an interview with one of our correspondents, warned the unions that any action taken in violation of the court will amount to contempt, he says. He continues, and I quote, "There is a subsisting court order stopping them from going on strike. Any action taken against the court is tantamount to contempt of court. We wish to advise the labor unions and the affiliate unions on the need to respect the rule of law and the court." So we set some conditions, and those conditions were very clear without ambiguity whatsoever. We said those people that brutalize our president must be arrested and they must be prosecuted. We also stated that the area commandant that led the police to carry out the brutalization should be relieved of his duty and he should be prosecuted. Those statements are coming from organized labor. He also added that the man who led the thugs was popular. He mentioned his name, adding that he should also be arrested and prosecuted. Now, the TUC president also added, so the two labor centers have resolved to stand firmly by the decision of the Joint National Executive Council that was held last week, Tuesday, effective 001 hours, that's 12:01 midnight. On the 14th, which is today, November, we shall declare a nationwide strike. So, effective today or midnight, a nationwide strike is going to commence. All affiliates of the TUC, all affiliates of NLC, and all state councils of the two centers have been mobilized adequately, and this is going to be indefinite until governments at all levels wake up to their responsibilities. A bit of the video. Let's listen to what Osifo said.
Trade Union Congress, members of both centers here present, and gentlemen of the press. If you could recall, a while ago, we gave some conditions that we want the government to meet regarding the brutalization of the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress. So we set forth some conditions, and those conditions, they were very, very clear, without ambiguity whatsoever. We said those people that brutalize our president, they must be arrested and they must be persecuted. We also stated as well that the area commander that led the police to carry out the brutalization should be relieved of his duty and he should be persecuted. Then Chinasa, who everybody knew that led the talks, should also be arrested and persecuted. So we went on and on and on. I think the gentleman of the press, you have the list of our demands. We gave an ultimatum that initially expired Wednesday last week. But in the eve of that expiration, we had the joint section of the NLC and the TUC. We looked at it, we felt as a responsible institution that we should give additional 1 week. Let's see if the government will be responsive. In order to further draw the attention of government, we had a picketing section last week, Thursday. But instead of government to come out strongly to condemn this criminality, instead of government to speak and stand on the side of justice and on the side of truth, some people in government, they were running their mouth and making all kind of statements. So the two Labour Center has resolved to stand firmly by the decision of the joint NEC that was held last week, Tuesday, that effective 001 hours on the 14th of November, we shall declare a nationwide strike. So effective tomorrow or midnight today, a nationwide strike is going to commence. All affiliates of Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, all affiliates of Nigeria Labour Congress, all state councils of the two centers have been mobilized adequately. And this is going to be indefinite until government at all levels wake up to their responsibility. This is the decision of the joint NEC of NLC and TUC, and we are going to carry it out to the latter. Solidarity
forever.
There is victory for all.
All right, this statement was dated 13/2023, directed the affiliate unions, as you can hear from Mosifo, to comply with the strike directive. Now, these affiliates, I will read them out, include the Academic Staff Union of Universities, National Union of Electricity Employees, Nigerian Union of Teachers, Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics, and dozens of others across the various sectors. In compliance with this directive, the Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria said its members will also participate in the nationwide strike. Now, we are supposed to be in communication with the NLC president of the Akwa Ibom chapter to see if the actions or the industrial action is actually holding as it is. Because I expected that normally on days like this, all the chapters with their NLC presidents will go around to ensure, you know, that probably it is being complied with. So while we try to reach the NLC president, we can continue even after that statement, presidency responds slightly and takes on the labor union. Now, meanwhile, the presidency on the same Monday accused the organized labor of using its Tuesday strike to pursue an agenda inimical to the well-being of Nigerians. It based its claim on efforts by the Bola Tinubu administration to satisfy the demands of the NLC and the TUC in a memorandum of understanding signed in October the 2nd, 2023. Now, Ononuga insisted and made some statements saying, so this strike cannot be for workers' interest. You cannot tell any Nigerian that this is for a better life for them. In fact, they didn't say that they are going to strike because of the increase in the cost of fuel or something like that. They only said they are going to strike because of one of their leaders who was manhandled in Imo State. I don't know whether the NLC president is live now. Now, the governor of the state said if what Labour is saying is correct, then he apologizes. He said in one of the popular programs on TV. So what point do they want to prove now? I'm still quoting Benga Ononuga. It's about the issues they have with the government before the government has settled most of those conditions they gave in the MOU. The presidency also faulted the legitimacy of the strike, saying it is in defiance of an existing court order. Now, let me also quote, we are surprised that the NLC and the TUC are going ahead with their threat to enforce this strike. We can see their illegality because the National Industrial Court headed by Justice Benedict Kanyip gave a ruling last week and banned them from going on strike. Now, because the court agreed with the petition of our lawyer that the strike will cause untold hardship in this country, NLC and TUC forging ahead means they are disobeying a lawful court order. In our view, we believe that labor leaders have a hidden agenda that they are executing. They want to exacerbate the hardship that our people are going through. President Tinubu's special advisor on information and strategy, Mr. Bayo Ononuga, had said all these, criticizing the actions of labor. All right, I do not know whether we are in contact with the NLC president, Akwa Ibom chapter, and I'd like to have a chat with him to find out if people are complying with the planned industrial strike. And they claim, or they say, or they've stated that the industrial action is based on the fact that everybody is in solidarity. All state chapters are in solidarity with the current NLC president, Mr. Joe Ajaero, over the way he was manhandled and unfairly treated in Imo State. There's been reports also that the state governor apologized and completely washed his hands off and said he didn't have anything to do with that incident. All right, we'll go on a short break. Thereafter, we'll be right back to continue on the developments.
Premium broadcast and entertainment, sports on the go, and news from the world. Watch Spectrum TV on StarTimes DTH channel 421 and free-to-air frequency 12733. Visit our website SpectrumTVLive.ng. Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
All right, many thanks for staying tuned and welcome back. I believe we have Comrade Sonny James on the phone line. Comrade Sonny James is the NLC chairman at Akwa Ibom State Chapter. Comrade Sonny, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Akwa Ibom people, good morning.
All right, that place seems to be noisy. I want to believe that you're already outside trying to check if people comply. But let me ask a question for the audience. Is the NLC strike still on?
Yeah, the NLC strike nationwide is on as we speak. It's on as we speak, and Akwa Ibom State, being a component of Nigeria, are not exempted from the strike action.
Okay.
So we are all here at our own terminal point, of course, the gate entrance of Idons and Ghana Secretariat, where we are operating from. We have actually gone around to see the extent of compliance, and we are right now at the gate of the Ghana Secretariat.
Okay, let me still drag you to the arena a bit, Comrade Sonny. The few places you have checked for compliance, will you say you are satisfied? Are people actually responding to the planned industrial action that started 12 midnight this morning?
So far, so good. I must say that we are doing justice to the directive, and Akwa Ibom people who are peace-loving people, who are people who love good things, are on it, and compliance is total and is in order.
Oh, that's impressive. Okay, so have you been able to communicate with any other of your colleagues who are probably presidents of different chapters in other regions, whether the level of compliance is high? The reason why I'm asking this question is we've checked through the tabloids, we've even checked on new media this morning, and we are getting rumors that not all the regions have reasonable percentage of compliance, that even some of your affiliates have opted out of the strike action, saying that it is completely irrational. How would you respond to that, comrade?
Whoever makes such assertion that any affiliate has opted out is not correct, and that information is not correct and misleading. What is important is the fact that the final confirmation of the strike came up very late yesterday evening, and therefore the very first day mobilization will not be equated to the second day mobilization. This is just the first day. The full compliance, I can assure you, we will get it in the second day. But for us here in Akwa Ibom, we are all complying with the direction.
Okay. All right. Do you think, on a final note, so that I'll let you go about your very, very important obligation this morning, do you think that this strike action will achieve the objective, especially when federal government since yesterday has been saying that there is a court injunction and that whatever the NLC does, the national body of NLC, it will be an illegality? Do you think it will achieve its aim?
Well, I don't know how illegal it is, but I have it on good authority that the federal government and the organized level are meeting in the next couple of hours on the matter. So however illegal one looks at it, if we have a meeting and resolve our matter, it's clear for the person to use his own illegality and his own mouth. It's clear for the person.
All right, thank you so much, Comrade Sonny James. And thank you for always finding time to speak to us. We'll continue to monitor the activities and developments. And if you have any formal updates you need to pass to us, you know our channels are always available to you so that we can continue to update the great people of Akwa Ibom and by extension the whole Nigerian audience. Thank you so much, Comrade Sonny James. All right, I've been speaking to the NLC President Akwa Ibom chapter, who's already on the field. You can hear the background. It's a noisy background. He and his team are trying to ensure full compliance of the NLC strike. And they say that this time it is really not about the hike in price or not about, some other demands they had with the federal government before, but that it is in solidarity to show that whatever treatment that the NLC president got in Imo will not be, accepted, and it will not be tolerated. So it is more of a solidarity industrial action. I hear a lot of people say that it is what you have that you will use to get the kind of response you get. Is it the same scenario? You be the judge. He also mentioned a few things stating that as we speak, we are yet to confirm that, as we speak, that the federal government is already meeting with the National Executive Council of Organized Labor, which includes NLC and TUC and probably a few other affiliates, and that very soon from now we'll be getting more reports or more updates on the agreements so far. So we'll continue to monitor that as time goes on. Now, moving straight back into some of the developments that we are monitoring and we're going to be having conversations about. In Bayelsa, there's been knocks and praises for INEC as Governor Doyediri attains victory in Bayelsa State. Now, like the proverbial rain that wets one side of a tree and leaves the other dry, not everyone has been smiling following Saturday's off-cycle elections in Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo states. Now, following the declaration yesterday by Bayelsa State Returning Officer, Professor Farouk Kuta, that the incumbent Governor Doyediri had won, ecstatic supporters and members of the PDP defied a heavy downpour to express their joy over the outcome. Now, according to Kuta, Diri, having polled the highest number of votes and having met conditions specified in the Electoral Act, was the clear winner. He was thereafter declared the duly elected governor after polling 175,196 votes to defeat his closest rival, a former Minister of Petroleum Resources and the candidate of the APC, Temipre Silva, who garnered 108 votes. Total number of votes cast were 291,212. Voided votes were 3,668, while valid votes stood at 287,534 votes. Now, the governor defeated Silva in 6 out of 8 local councils. And I will go through them. Kolokuma, Okpokuma, Ogbia, Yenagua, Sagbama, Ekremo, and Southern Ijo, while Silva won in Nembe and Brass. The Labour Party candidate Udeng Zeradiri, that's former Ijo Youth Congress president, won none. Now, during a statewide broadcast pledged to be governor for all the people, regardless of who has voted or who has not. Now, he says, and I quote, "I want to place on record our gratitude to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for allowing the environment for what has been a free, fair, and credible elections." He continues, while appreciating the people for electing him for another 4 years term, he said, "This victory will not have been possible without the mighty hand and grace of the Almighty and the overwhelming support you have shown towards me and my government of prosperity." He continues, and I quote, "I am deeply humbled by your overwhelming expression of confidence and by your mandate to serve you for another 4 years." Let's take a look at the victory, the all-famous victory speech by His Excellency Governor Doyediri.
This victory would not have been possible without the mighty hand
Can I have volume, please?
And grace
Guys.
of the Almighty God and the overwhelming support you have shown
Guys, can I have
towards
volume,
me,
please?
my deputy governor, and indeed the prosperity government. I am deeply humbled by your overwhelming expression of confidence, by your mandate to serve you
Michael,
for
are you there?
another 4 years. I want to express my heartfelt appreciation to everyone who cast your vote in my favor and in our favor, and has entrusted me with the responsibility of leading our beloved state again. I am also immensely grateful to the leadership of our great party, the People's Democratic Party, at all levels, and our dedicated campaign team, ably led by a member of the National Assembly representing Ogbia Federal Constituency in the Nigerian House of Representatives, Chief Maitama Honorable Obodo, who worked tirelessly to spread our message of progress and unity throughout Bayelsa State. Your unwavering belief in our vision for prosperity and your relentless efforts have brought us this sweet victory. However, I urge you all to celebrate with temperance, as this victory is not the exclusive preserve of any one political party. Rather, it is the collective will of the people of Bayelsa State, united towards progress and a better future for our state. Even those who cast their votes differently enriched our democratic practice by their participation and, if you like, dissent. I reaffirm that I will continue to be the governor of all in Bayelsa State. I want to place on record our gratitude to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who, allowing the conducive environment for what has been a free, fair, and credible elections in Bayelsa State. In the same vein, while we appreciate the role of most of the security agencies for their professionalism and hard work in providing security for the exercise, we equally commend the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for discharging their responsibility largely very creditably. I want to specifically acknowledge and appreciate our leader, the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan, for his unqualified support. In the same vein, I equally want to thank my immediate predecessor in office, His Excellency now Senator Henry Seriake Dixon, for his unwavering and abiding support. Our special appreciation also goes to our party leaders and my brother governors for their physical presence and invaluable moral support during this process. I'd like to appreciate the former Vice President of this country, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, the former Governor of Delta State, His Excellency Ifeanyi Okowa, and my immediate colleagues, the chairman of this committee from the National, His Excellency Agbu Kefas of Taraba State, who is standing right here with me. His Excellency Governor Sheriff Oboriwero, my neighbor, the Governor of Delta State, who is also standing right here with me. His Excellency Governor Ahmadu Fintri of Adamawa State, who has been here with us and for one reason or the other left us yesterday. His Excellency Governor Godwin Obaseki of Edo State, His Excellency.
Victory can be very sweet. You know, when you bask in the euphoria of victory, you remember all the good names that are associated with you. Congratulations to Governor Doyediri. And I would also quickly chip this in without being an opinionist on the matter. A lot of people have also criticized that when PDP loses, the election is free and fair. But when they win, no, when they lose, the election is rigged. But when they win, the election is free and fair. You be the judge. Let's move on with some other developments. Still talking about the election, the Igbo socio-cultural group and on the other side, lawmakers charge INEC, and they are hugely criticizing what has become of the conduct. Now, the ABEX Igbo socio-cultural organization, Ohaneze Igbo, was not pleased, saying it strongly condemns recurring irregularities, according to them. Now, they also said they observed these same irregularities during the polls. In a statement by the Secretary General, Mazi Okechukwu Isi Guzoro, the group said Ohaneze Igbo firmly believes that INEC is a weak institution that urgently needs restructuring. The management team led by Professor Yakubu Mahmoud has failed to ensure free, fair, and credible elections across the 3 states. We demand a complete overhaul of the management team to restore confidence in the electoral process, they say. Although it congratulated Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State, Usman Ododo of Kogi, and Governor Doyediri Ohaneze Igbo insisted that the prevalence of irregularities such as voter apathy, vote buying, violence, and compromised INEC staff has significantly undermined the democratic process. This situation erodes the trust of the electorate and jeopardizes the very foundation of our democracy, it added. Now, the national enacting new laws to end off-cycle elections as they continued to sap the strength of our democracy. That is the statement credited to the Ohaneze Igbo. Now, similarly, at a press conference also in Abuja yesterday, 31 federal lawmakers asked INEC to invoke the provision on the review of false declaration as provided in the Electoral Act, recalculate the Imo governorship election results, and declare the PDP winner. Now, the lawmakers who were led by House Representative Member Idiaton North South Federal Constituency Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere said, "We declare him," that's Uzodinma, "a self-imposed governor. We have already exposed evidence of massive overvoting from results of Beaver's machine accreditation, which showed very low turnout and results that moves were ongoing to illegally upload accreditation figures to tally with fraud that was committed on Saturday." The aggrieved lawmakers affirmed that more than 90% of the votes allocated to Uzodinma were not votes that passed through the accreditation process, as the turnout in the election was very low. And this could be because of the insecurity in Imo State, they added. It is an act of treason for a person to get himself declared as governor of a state. That is the group headed by Honorable Ikenga Ugochinyere, still making very clear statements. The security agencies should swing into action and arrest everyone involved in that heinous crime. While the lawmakers filmed, civil rights bodies, Human Rights Writers Association, HURIWA, warned that the electoral haste is in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi could trigger mass boycott of subsequent elections unless INEC is unbundled and reformed. National Coordinator Emmanuel Onwubiko claimed that the speed at which results in Imo were collated and announced, even when no election took place in about 4 local councils in Olu and Okigwe senatorial zones, showed that INEC has persisted in electoral crimes because of past impunity, he said. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the National Assembly, in the interest of constitutional democracy, should put their personal political ambitions aside and resolve to deliver to Nigerians a long sought after critical reform of INEC. It is in its own submission. Center for Democracy and Development (CDD) said the election in 3 states were a setback on past gains recorded in the nation's electoral process. At a press conference, a member of the CDD Election Analysis Center, Professor Jinadu Adele, said, and I quote, "Abuse of the power of incumbency for unfair partisan party political electoral advantage by the governing parties in the 3 states is a major factor posing challenge to the conduct of elections in the country." Now, on its part, Election Monitoring Group YAGA Africa and INEC missed another opportunity to rebuild citizens' trust in Nigeria's electoral process. That is from YAGA. Now, in a statement, it said the elections were a test of the commitment of key democratic institutions such as INEC, security agencies, and the executive to restore public confidence in the electoral process. YAGA Africa is concerned about continuous decline in the quality of our elections and the penchant to lower integrity standards irrespective of reforms introduced by INEC and progress made in reforming our election legal framework. Now, the November 11th election was another missed opportunity to rebuild trust and confidence in the electoral process, the group said. It noted that the election in Kogi and Imo reaffirmed lack of commitment to democratic principles and credible elections on the part of electoral stakeholders, adding that YAGA Africa urgently calls on INEC to review and conduct a comprehensive audit of the Imo governorship election results to inspire confidence in the process and its outcome. But I must add this. Arewa Youth Consultative Forum, AYCF, praised the conduct of the governorship polls. It also commended INEC chairman Yakubu Mahmoud, saying the polls restored the commission's integrity. AYCF President Yerima Shetima, in a statement, described the election as free, fair, and credible, thanks to the effort of INEC. We are pleased to associate with the outcome of the election, which was patently transparent and credible. The election results were a clear reflection of the will of the people, and we are confident that they will serve as a model for future elections. That is coming from the Arewa Youth Forums. So would you say one man's meat is another man's poison? Like I always say, you be the judge. Now, on our final take, still on the reactions after the off-cycle election, especially from Kogi State, before I call in my guest that will be having the conversation with us, we have Dino Melaye condemning Kogi elections completely and calling for a total cancellation. Senator Dino Melaye, the governorship candidate of the PDP in Kogi State, has blamed his electoral loss on Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Melaye, who came third in the November 11th governorship election in Kogi, described the process as shameful, adding that the election was massively rigged against him. While appearing on a TV program, popular TV program on Monday, the governorship candidate said the INEC boss is the main problem of Nigeria's democracy. Melaye, who scored 46,362 votes in the governorship election, accused Yakubu of masterminding his electoral loss. Now, let's quickly take the video clip of his complaints, and can I use the word maybe, lamentations over the poor, according to him, poor and shabby conduct of the electoral process by INEC.
Call for the total cancellation of the election because that was condemning in its totality the conduct of the elections yesterday, and outrightly call for the total cancellation of the election because that was not an election. It is shameful that the unhealthy INEC refuse to realize, ameliorate, or palliate the problems they created in the last presidential and governorship elections. Yesterday, in 5 local governments of the Central Senatorial District in Kogi State, there was no election in any. Surprisingly, accreditation was done manually. The beavers was not used. Prepared result sheets manifested even before accreditation took place. The evidence is all over the media. So INEC, as a matter of urgency, must cancel the election. Many areas where I won, after counting, my agents were told that there are no available result sheets to enter the results. And we have evidence to back up this assertion. As I speak to you, it is shameful that this is what our democracy have descended to. INEC have manifested more than ever before that they cannot be trusted, they are biased, they are compromised, and they cannot be a neutral umpire. INEC officials, youth corps members were caught yesterday with prepared result sheets even before the commencement of the processes leading to the election. A youth corps member was caught yesterday with 1 million naira in his bag. Complete 1 million naira with a prepared results already. There was deliberate suppression of my votes in Lokoja and Kogi local government. This was deliberately done by Yaya Bello and the APC to make sure that even in their orchestrated arrangement, I don't come second, because they do believe that there will be a second ballot. And they believe that if there's a second ballot, I have tremendous influence and support in the central, and I can build an inroad in the east.
All right, that is Dino Melaye reeling out all the list of complaints and concerns. And I'd seen a lot of the videos. At some point, he even said that it's not about him, that whatever he's going to eat or whatever is going to be taking care of him and his family, he already has it for life. That he's just worried for the future of the unborn average Nigerians. But a lot of people will also say that's a politician talking. Is this in sincerity or just because he probably has not been able to clench what he intended to clench? Real quick, let me quickly introduce to you our guest who will be joining us virtually from Abuja. Mr. Jide Ojo is a development consultant and a public affairs analyst, is also a columnist and a writer. Mr. Jide, so sorry for keeping you waiting. We had to build up the story so that it becomes interesting. You're welcome on the show, sir.
It's my pleasure. Good morning, Shegun.
All right.
Good morning, Nigerians.
All right. So real quick, let's quickly talk about what Dino Melaye was complaining about. Then we'll go to the NLC. We're supposed to start from the NLC, but the video just finished playing. And while we are digesting it, let's ruminate on it. You heard his claims. I'm sure you've seen the video before, because I know you're a very, very vast journalist at your own level too. Do you see valid points or valid keys in those complaints he has made, talking about Senator Dino Melaye?
Of course, there are very genuine concerns about Kogi and Imo elections. But for the vigilance of the people of Bayelsa, maybe the outcome would not have been favorable to the incumbent governor. However, when someone like Dino is talking, I take it with a pinch of salt, because Dino from time had been eating and dining and whining with the powers that be that have undermined
Mr. Jide, I never saw that
process.
coming, but continue. I never saw that reaction coming, but continue.
He is part of the problem. Dino is part of the problem. Dino cannot claim to be a saint in all of his electoral contestations. After all, the court sacked him from the Senate before there was a rerun in which Smart Adeyemi took that position.
Yes.
So what are we talking about? If his election then was clean, why did the court sack him?
Okay, Mr. Jide.
We know the history.
Mr.
We know the history of Dino. See, people knew Dino could never have won the election in Kogi.
Okay.
Dino has
Okay.
character problem.
Okay. In as much as we are discussing politics, let it not make it now look like we are doing comparative political punditry. Because I based on the reports I have, I know Dino, even up till now, is still far more popular than Smart Adeyemi, who was a stooge to the outgoing governor as we speak. But that is not, let us not derail so that we will continue on the issues.
No, the issue of popularity,
Okay.
listen, Shagun, the popularity, the reason why I don't have any, I've never had anything personal with Dino. But what I'm saying is that he cannot be pontificating and putting himself up as a messiah, as a saint.
Okay.
When he himself was hand in glove in
a part of the whole systemic breakdown
in time past. In time past. So it's like competitive rigging that somebody now outwits you, you now say, oh, this is the worst election. Dino has no democratic credentials that will make anybody to believe him. Did you watch the video of Inyosan Wike? The interactive session he had, Wike had with some select media organizations, whether yesterday or Sunday. You need to listen. Even within the PDP fold, people were shocked that Dino became the standard bearer of PDP in Kogi. And that's why Wike was saying, oh, really, did PDP want to win election in Kogi? And they want to win, and they gave ticket to someone like Dino.
No, but
See,
like
Dino,
I said, Mr. Jide,
my brother.
Okay, all right.
Let me say this.
Okay.
If you follow through the primaries of PDP, it was Atiku's influence, because Dino served in the Presidential Campaign Council, and he was one of the spokesperson for Atiku presidential campaign. It was more like, okay, rub my back, I rub your back. That's why they gave him the ticket.
It's okay. It's okay. We can theorize. We can hypothesize. It doesn't really matter. But the only other person we know enjoys the same popularity in the PDP in Kogi is now senator. The court has just made her senator, which is Natasha Akpoti. So if we go back and forth on who should have represented PDP in Kogi, I do not think any other person can be thrown up that will have enjoyed the kind of popularity, sagacity, exposure, and intelligence of Dino. Yes, he's not a saint, I agree with you. But like I said, let us not limit it to only Kogi politics. I know I know you do not know Dino.
Like I said,
you do not know Dino from anywhere. Yes.
The election of Saturday had its own flaws, and I will still put the blame at the doorstep of desperate politicians who will not allow due process. I really do not envy Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, because he's just one individual out of 16,500 workforce of INEC. And only God knows how many hundreds of thousands of ad hoc staff were engaged. If these ad hoc staff are ready to cash out, given the fact that Christmas is coming, this is their own opportunity to make money. And they become a willing tool in the hands of politicians. If there is no giver, there is no buyer. If the desperate politicians did not induce those ad hoc staff and INEC staff, they possibly would have conducted, a cleaner election. Now, Professor Yakubu gets to bear the blame because he's the #1 citizen in INEC. And what I will enjoin him to do is to activate that provision of the Electoral Act, which has empowered the Commission to review the results that were announced by the returning officer, so that where there are infractions, INEC can then deal administratively with cleaning up that scores.
Now, Mr. Jide, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you just made a very valid point. if there is a provision for that, the general question people are asking is, why then did INEC go ahead to announce winners clearly where there were infractions, clearly where there were malpractices, clearly where there were short ends and short practices and all that? Why would INEC go ahead to announce winners in the contested regions, excluding Bayelsa?
Now, this is it. This is it. If you do not have the strength of character and you do not have the protection of the law, you will do as you are instructed. Politicians are very desperate. They offer you two options. Take this money, do our bidding, or you pay dearly for it. And in my last week article, I called for whistleblower protection. There is no whistleblower protection in Nigeria, my dear brother. Not everybody has a set of character to resist pressure, particularly if it's a financial inducement. Even we that are in the media space, we know these things happen. We know government officials sometimes go around media houses and give money to media executives not to carry certain stories or to carry certain stories. You and I are in the media space. These things do happen. It depends on the strength of character. Is this situations where you are not paying your staff regularly that you think they will look the other way and say, to hell with you, don't bring any money to me? This is the same thing that happens in the field. These desperate politicians, please, you can do a Google check on this. Professor Atari Jega, at one of the public fora, when he was chairman of INEC, said that politicians earmark huge sums of money for electoral logistics. What is this electoral logistics? Violence, vote.
Yes, I can recall that particular public fora when Professor Atayu Jeraga, not Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, when he outlined all the avenues with which...
Who possibly will get 50,000 naira for being a returning officer?
Okay. Go on, if you can. Go on.
Someone you maybe 500 million naira to make the call. It will take the strength of character for you to resist. So what I'm saying is that INEC has the power to review the result, because what has become widespread now among the 2-3 states is that BVAS was bypassed in some of the polling units. There were inflated results that are uploaded on IREV. There were pre-filled result sheets. And there is only one way to deal with this. Before the contestants will go to court within 21 days of announcing the outcome of this election, before the opposition will go to court, INEC can take some remedial action by trying to look into the merit of the petitions that have been written by the opposition element, by reviewing, activating that provision in the Electoral Act, which gives the commission 7 days within which to review the outcome. And this has happened, Shegun. This happened in Kano. You can do a Google check on this. This happened in Kano. There was this constituency, federal constituency, where Alhassan Doguwa, the former House of Reps majority leader,
yeah, I remember Doguwa,
where he contested in 2023. Now, the professor who was the returning officer for that House of Reps election was put under duress to declare Doguwa as the winner of that election. And he obliged. But the moment after he made that announcement, the following day, he wrote and he made this declaration under duress, and that the commission should review the result because that election should have been declared inconclusive. Remember, Doguwa was arrested for murder
I remember.
and arson.
I remember.
And was later released by the court that they didn't find evidence that he was behind it. But there were a number of deaths. So let me tell you this, Shagun. I mean, it was that professor that resisted the pressure from APC in Kano and insisted on declaring the election inconclusive. If he had been killed by the mob, is that not how they will release Doguwa to say he has no hand in what happened? The exoneration of Doguwa, did he bring back the lives that were lost in that fracas? So this is why sometimes you have to use your brain. And look at, I've given you one instance where INEC, after the declaration had been made, where INEC itself reversed the verdict of the returning officer by now declaring that election inconclusive and said that there will be supplementary election in about 9 polling units.
Yeah.
This happened in this 2023. INEC can similarly do same in Kogi, in Imo, where there are rife allegations of inflated election results. And that is the remedial action INEC can do.
Okay.
But failure to do that.
Okay.
Wait now.
All right.
Failure to do that. I will enjoin someone like Dino to stop media trial of this election. Let him gather all his evidence, all the evidences he claimed to have. Let him gather it and proceed to court. And I tell
you know why this is interesting?
The whole essence.
Mr. Dino, you know why this is interesting? I don't know whether Dino is your friend or he may not be your friend. You have used the word media trial. But other people who are watching this, your brilliant and articulate analysis, if Dino did not do what he's doing now, will say that immediately after the elections, did you complain? You did not complain. Why are you now crying foul? But that is away from that. Now, let's leave Dino. Let's leave the messenger and go into the messages. There were allegations that there were pre-recorded result sheets from I can't remember the code now. There were pre-recorded result sheets amongst a lot of other malpractices. Now, standing on that premise using Kogi and Imo, generally speaking now, would you say our elections in Nigeria have moved a bit on the path of progress as regards the process of conducting our elections, or have we rescinded yet again? I want you to just give a general assessment, because we will have to also touch on the NLC and the activities that are in the new developments. Yes, Mr.
Now,
Jide, go on.
this is my own position. You see, it's very difficult to be categorical that we are not making progress or we are making progress. And this is why I am saying, those who have unassailable evidence of electoral fraud should, rather than engaging in media trial and exposing themselves, let them keep their arsenal dry. Let them harvest all of those talk. See, the whole reason why there is off-cycle election, Shegun, the whole reason why there is off-cycle election in Nigeria is because of judicial activism.
Exactly.
In those 8 states, where we are now having off-cycle election, some other elections were invalidated and nullified. That's why we have a different date where these governorship elections are holding.
That's correct.
Look, it is this same judiciary that you are condemning that gave Natasha Akpoti back a ticket, a victory. Isn't it? In this same 2023.
True.
Natasha took on Yaya Bello. Look at what Yaya Bello did to Natasha. On the day of election, and dug a gully across the road that INEC will use to take election material to our base. But upon everything, despite the fact that Natasha and Yaya Bello came from the same senatorial district, despite the fact that the electoral officials were possibly compromised to make a wrong call, the judiciary was able to to reverse that electoral fraud against Natasha. And today she sits in the Senate of the Federal Republic. Look at Ugo Chinyere. Ugo Chinyere was initially at the court of first instance. His victory was nullified. But it is the same judiciary, the court of appeal, that reinstated him back to that position. So when we are making sweeping statements and said that our judiciary has been compromised, people fail to see even this 2023 election that we so much condemn. Did you know that 7 sitting governors lost their bid to come to Senate in this same election?
That is correct, Mr. Jide, but we were more on the INEC election process. We are not gotten to the judiciary.
Even the governor of Zamfara State, who is now the Minister of State for Defense, he lost his re-election bid and is a member of APC. So what we are saying is that we should not make sweeping statements. There are INEC officials that really see this opportunity of election as an opportunity to cash out. And we should know that it's not all of them that are involved in this electoral haste. It is in this 2023 election, if you remember, Shegun, in Abia State, the woman, I don't know whether she is a professor from Imo State University, but was posted to Abia to serve as returning officer for the election of Alex Oti. The woman said they came to her with millions of naira, put her under pressure, and she resisted. And she made the right declaration. And the day she went back to her school, where she is a vice chancellor, she was given a heroic welcome. That's why I said it's about strength of character. If you allow your conscience to be your guide, if you are not interested in filthy lucre, you will resist the pressure of the politician. And if you find it irresistible, the next good thing you can do is that take the money, write an official complaint, and send it to the INEC headquarters that this is what transpired, this is the money I was put under.
But this is interesting. This is interesting because before now you drew an analogy of someone, a prof, in Dogua's case, who probably would have lost his life. So in the end, it's a very dicey situation. But the question I asked wasn't even about the judiciary. It was about our electoral processes and the INEC as an institution. Because a lot of people, have completely written INEC off. Completely. I just wanted you to share your own opinion, at least, so that one or two of our audience can gain, from the insights that you are given. So would you say we have progressed? Or would you say we have retrogressed? Or would you say we have become stagnant?
I have said.
Yes, I heard you.
Shegun,
but you mentioned the judiciary.
Let me give you a scenario.
Go on.
Let me give you a scenario. That's why I was making all those analogies. I said, look, INEC have a staff strength of 16,500. INEC had to engage youth corps members in their hundreds of thousands.
University
INEC
professors.
had to engage road transport workers. INEC had to engage other people who are not their core staff.
Exactly.
Now, there is this human element that in this 2023, you don't dull yourself. That is the right word. They say no dulling. So, because this, any which way, and that is what is leading to the compromise of the electoral process. Those people, those bad elements, those scoundrels, those undesirable elements who either as ad hoc staff or permanent staff of the commission, who will willingly yield to pressure from politicians by allowing themselves to be induced and thereby compromise the integrity of the election. And that's why I'm making two appeals. Shegun, I'm making two appeals. Okay. First is that INEC should activate its power to review election results. This whole issue of inflated election result is too strong to be waved aside. So let Professor Mahmood Yakubu within this week, before 7th day, set up a small committee, review the complaints, and look at incidences which are bound about results that were inflated and those petitions that have to do with bypass of beavers, and see whether they can use their administrative power to reverse whatever wrong has been done by collation officers and returning officers.
A lot of people will agree with you on that.
Number two, very quickly, sir. Number two submission I'm making is that if INEC, using its own administrative powers, now discovers that whether it's permanent or ad hoc staff that has altered the result of the election to favor one party or one contestant against the other, they should hand over such person to the security agencies for interrogation and prosecution. If you allow it to slide, if you do not identify, arrest, investigate, and prosecute these people who have aided and abetted the political elite to undermine our electoral process, then bigger shock awaits us in 2024 when we will be having election in Edo and Ondo. Because the greatest disincentive to crime is your chances of not getting away with those crimes. That's why even in US, people commit electoral fraud, but the system will find them out and they will be punished. All those people in whose polling units were found pre-filled election results, INEC in his own statement on Saturday night said they will be able to identify them because they have the records and contact details of all the people posted to those polling units. It is for them now to be handed over to security for proper interrogation and later for the commission to do what? To prosecute. All those people who uploaded fake results in Imo State, those who were responsible for altering the figures of election on beavers, because I saw about 4 or 5 evidences of beavers recording 2, 5, 10, 15 accredited voters, and then when you see CAT form, which is the result sheet, figure. You find 700 and something being recorded as the score. That is very easy to dictate, isn't it? Very. You know from your record who were posted to those particular polling units. They have identity. You know who your officials in those places are. Then you get the police to invite them for interrogation. If they finger anybody in government, let them be arrested and jointly be prosecuted. If Professor Mahmood Yakubu do not do that, then he's aiding and abetting electoral fraud. So 2 things I've put forward. Yes. I'm not saying that we are not, because whether you like it or not, at least in this last election, we have result of the election uploaded on IREF in a timeous manner. As at 9 p.m. on Saturday, over 80% of results in Kogi and Imo had already been uploaded. And of course, there were less bloodletting, less casualty. Elections started early in many places. So there are a number of things that went well. But this issue of inflated results, we need to determine how widespread they are. Okay. And that is why I'm enjoining INEC National to activate that provision of the law, which has empowered it to review whatever decisions have been made by the returning officer. Review and revert. If you watch the live telecast of those election results, many of the parties, opposition parties, said they have written petitions, and it is believed that these petitions will be submitted through courier to INEC office, both at the state and the federal level. If INEC can use its administrative power as given to it by the Electoral Act to now review this election result and come up with the actual figures, it then will determine whether there will be rerun election and whether the person who has been declared winner will still be declared winner but by a lower margin or whatever it is, or whether it's the opposition that actually won. And INEC has that power.
Okay.
Let it exercise
okay,
that
Mr.
power.
Jide, I think you have made your point enough. Another thing that I may have gotten, in spite of the richness of all the things you have been able to put forward, is that the people who probably may be perpetrating these heinous crimes may just be ad hoc staffs and not directly INEC staff. But we've almost exhausted the whole show talking about the off-cycle elections. So let's quickly delve on the NLC federal government relations. Recall that as at 12 midnight this morning, it is stated that NLC has gone on a nationwide industrial strike. Do you think that the reasons why NLC went on this particular industrial strike in solidarity with the NLC president against the unfairness and the unfair treatment of their national president, do you think this industrial action is justified, bearing in mind all the parameters and all the elements at play and the potential discomfort and the potential, reduction of economic activities? Do you think this action is justified, and why, Mr. Jide? I think we have barely 5 minutes to wrap up.
For me, Segun, the labor unions in Nigeria are overreaching themselves. And President Tinubu needs to call them to size. Look, if you or I are to be molested by the Nigerian police or thugs, are we going to call out our station colleagues to go on indefinite strike on our behalf? They have the identity of those who molested Joe Ajaero. Let them sue them. Let them sue the police in Imo. Let them sue those individuals. I've had them mention Chinaza. I've had them mention identities of those who they believe molested Joe Ajaero. The court is there to do substantial justice. You cannot hold the entire country to ransom.
To quickly add to that,
one individual was molested.
Okay, Mr. Jide, while you continue, to quickly add to that, in the communique that was released officially, all those things were mentioned that the Imo State government should provide those people so that they will be prosecuted, or the necessary, institution that's involved in the discipline should meet disciplines to them. The statements were clear in the documents. I don't think it is the organized labor that should be looking for such persons. And they also demanded that everything they've demanded from the incumbent governor, that he has failed to visit or to try to, get, into the lives of the average worker in Imo. All those demands should also be met.
I am saying, Segun, what NLC has done is indefensible, is illegal, is illegitimate, is anti-people. You cannot say your president, because your president was molested, even if it's a governor of a state that was molested, he has no right to call out the entire workforce in the state to go on solidarity strike with him. How much more labor unions? You cannot say because your leadership, one person in your leadership was molested. I sympathize with Joe Ajaero. I sympathize with him. But he cannot use that power of a labor union leader to now put the entire country in pains. And do you know what it means to go on nationwide strike? They will take light, the banks will not work, flights will not work. Do you know what the implication is? If it were to be a society of sane people that we see elsewhere, do you know how much litigations that those corporations will face if it were to be in US, that you call out workers to go on nationwide strike because your leader was molested? It's like killing a ant with sledgehammer. If they want to get redress for Joe Ajaero. Let them file a suit in court and let the court subpoena those people who have been fingered, whether they are in policemen, whether they are individuals, thugs, or whatever. The court has power to subpoena them and ask them to come before the court to come and say what they know about the assault of the NLC president. But the NLC never went to the court. They choose not to go to court. They now invoke the powers of unionism. Is every worker in Nigeria a unionist? Is every corporation in Nigeria under the labor unions? Why would they make the entire country to suffer because of activity of one individual who is governor of a state? And let me say this, what the NLC did also haunted the candidate of Labour Party in Imo State, because people start saying, oh, because the president was beaten, you now throw us into darkness, you now stop flight from coming to Imo, then you are anti-people, and that in itself,
no, but this is just one of the theories, Mr. Jide, because there are so many. A lot of people have also said that that action even spurred the election to become more competitive, were it not for the fact that there were sharp election malpractices, and because there's so much issues concerning our electoral process, we never may be able to truly have the correct data of the response of the electorates. But I want to beg you, Mr. Jide, as exciting as my conversation is always with you, we may not have enough time to continue on the show. I want to thank you so much for being a part of this particular one. We hope that anytime we call you, you will have enough time to come and join us again, Mr. Jide. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Do have a great day. Stay safe and stay blessed.
Thank you very much. I will. I promise I will stay safe. All right, that's about all we can take on today's show. Tomorrow is another beautiful day to engage in these conversations. Remember, like we always say, the conversations around deepening democracy and nation building is never exhausted. I remain yours sincerely, Olusegun, signing out and saying, engage us on all our social media handles, and you are sure to get a response. Let's keep this conversation going. Have a lovely day. See you on the next edition.